A human skeleton found under the playground of an Edinburgh school could have once belonged to a 16th century pirate. That's at least what archaeologists believe for now. The skeleton was found by a council workman at Victoria Primary School in Edinburgh and later carbon dated by experts to the 16th or 17th century. Now, there's a few different reasons, Margaret, why they think this could have been a pirate. Because originally, they looked at these remains and they said, holy crap, these must be really, really old. But it turns out they're not as old as we think they are. Now, here's the first reason. The school is near Newhaven Harbour, which is the closest port to Scotland's capital where this was found. Now, that, if we go back in time, was once the site where people like pirates would be hung and set on display so that any pirates coming into the harbor, for example, would see what would happen if you break the law and you know, possibly be deterred for doing something wrong, right? It's called a gibbet. That's what it's called when you display someone's body to kind of deter other people from doing the same thing. So at first the archaeologists thought that, you know, this was from the Bronze Age or something like that. But then given the proximity to this gibbet, in the fact that there's all these cemeteries near there and he was in some unmarked grave in the ground, they said this man was probably a pirate underneath the slide that your daughters and sons are sliding down and playing all day long at school.
You're playing pirate above him and underneath there's an actual pirate. That would, I mean, a little freaky.
Oh, a little freaky?
Cool. I love this story. That's an awesome story.
Little kids running around playing pirate. Meanwhile, there's like the rotting corpse of a real pirate right underneath them, just a few feet down.
We don't hang people for piracy anymore, do we?
No, at least not in this country. We don't. There's actually like a 3D image of what this guy's face like they think really looked like because archaeologists took the skull and they did all sorts of...
he looks like a pirate. He could be a pirate.
He could be. But you know, we've done similar stories like the one about Jesus, for example, where scientists, you know, reconstructed what Jesus really looked like. And I always think it's complete BS. I mean, how much of the facial tissue, how much of the, you know, real features can you really get just from someone's tattered skull that's, you know, hundreds of years old, maybe even more than that. So I never buy the facial
there's a little imagination involved. Look,
but it makes the story, I think, more real, you know, and I think that's why,
he's got a face, or he has a face rather, and he has a nice one. You know, they hung that poor bastard and put him up on a
gibbet.
On a gibbet, right.
Word of the day. You know, this stuff doesn't happen as often here in the U.S. We don't find this kind of stuff. I mean, if you go to certain parts of California, oftentimes, you know, before you can get a building permit, people from local tribe councils of Native Americans have to come in and make sure there's no ancient burial site or something underneath. But, you know, in Europe, where we have much of an older past, you know, we find all sorts of cool stuff right underneath these old cities that are much older than the cities that we have here in the States. So I think it's really cool every time I find and come across stories like this. I always want to report on them because I think it's so interesting. It's like, while we're going throughout our normal days here, right underneath, you know, there's like crazy parts of history just like...
Are his skeletal remains going to be placed on display in the school?
You know, in a primary school, they're going to put some dead pirate.
You know what?
Up.
It's cool. You have a pirate, right?
I doubt it. You know, they'll probably go to some laboratory where they'll be, you know, analyzed further and it'll be carbon dated further. Yeah. Well, I think it's really cool. Little did they know, right underneath this primary school was a dead pirate.